Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting video. And yes, with the month of June nearly wrapping up, the season of summer gaming is officially coming down to a close. And I started going back through and looking at all of these different presentations we got, all the way from the Sony State of Play to Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Showcase, and then obviously there's Nintendo's presentation. And I'm like, you know what, sit down and looking at all those different presentations, it made me just start to think and wonder, since they were so spread out, man, I really do miss E3. There's a lot of good reasons that I really remember fondly about E3, and some things I really loved and enjoyed, such as like a rigid schedule, like you knew exactly when these events were happening and stuff. And obviously you had the bad negative moments though, but some of them were cringy, the good kind of cringy. Drew a lot of pleasure and great moments actually from the shows, whatever one you happen to be watching at the time though. So this made me kind of think and wonder. I was like, man, it's the first full year that for Summer Game Fest that officially E3 is dead and gone. And it just made me start to think, I have a few things I just want to kind of get off my chest and stuff, and just have a casual conversation of, all of those great moments we had from E3. And now we're truly in a whole different era with this season of summer gaming within Summer Game Fest. So that's what we're going to be going through and talking about within today's video though. So if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go and jump straight up into this video. So the number one thing I missed the most about E3 was just the scheduling. Because now if you look at the status of how we treat our summer gaming events and stuff, especially around Summer Game Fest, it's just sporadic. It always starts off with usually Sony doing something in the last week of May. And then usually like halfway throughout the month of June, then you have Summer Game Fest. Xbox is pretty good following it up about like a couple of days later, usually on a Sunday or something like that. And then Nintendo is just kind of all over the place. I know COVID really threw a monkey wrench into the way how they kind of operate and stuff though, but nowadays they just kind of do it whatever they want, and it's usually kind of away from most of the other announcements because they just really want to isolate themselves and just have all the spotlight on them though. For business wise, it makes a bunch of sense though. But at least for us consumers and stuff, it just feel a lot more impactful if we had all that stuff jammed into 1 week though. Because if you remember back, this is obviously predating, the events of COVID and stuff though. Pre-2020, we had a rigid structure of how this stuff was treated though. Because remember on Saturdays, you had EA, which, oh shoot, thankfully they don't do them shows no more. Oh gosh, those shows were like hot garbage. I was like, man, that was just something to watch if you were bored back in the day though. But you had that stuff start off on Saturday. Then on Sundays you had Xbox come out. That's where it really felt like we actually started off the shows with all of these different showcases and stuff. You had them, and you usually might have had Bethesda on that day. And then you turn around on Monday, then you have like the PC gaming show and stuff. Then you have the Ubisoft shows, and then you have the Sony showcase, whatever they have to be showing off. And then it's usually on the Tuesday to wrap things up. It was always Nintendo though. I always think back because I was like, obviously the one I was really looking forward to was all the Nintendo stuff though. But before I go into that, which that's a big pill to swallow though, these other presentations, I would say with the Microsoft ones, those were interesting because I don't know how they always happen to show off some kind of freaking card every single gosh dang time. I was like, man, that was just getting old. Like every time we were always talking about and speculate on this, if you're making any predictions with Xbox, you're like, hey, you got to show off some kind of card or something like that you just have to. But yeah, that was like one thing I always remember about that. The Ubisoft shows, I was like, man, it never failed for them to always do some kind of weird, freaky, just dance sequence. And I know at least for a lot of content creators back in the day with that one though, people were real quick on the draw to hit that mute button because I guess they did copyright claims and stuff like that for all the different music and stuff that happened to pop up though. But yeah, that was pretty wild right there though. The Sony showcases though, those were always ones to really kind of keep an eye out on. While yes, at the time I didn't have like a PS4 or anything like that to kind of keep up, up to date with those kind of games, or even going further back in the day, like a PS3 or anything like that. I wasn't really into it though, but they always managed to put off some kind of a great show. Like the games always looked cool and stuff. I just wasn't in the ecosystem at that time though. But go back and look at any one of those previous showcases and stuff, they had some good announcements up in there. That kind of never failed to disappoint though. But then at the very tail ending of the whole entire event, you always had Nintendo coming out with their presentation. And oftentimes, if it was like a weird offbeat year, the whole slogan was always Nintendo is here to save the day. Because oftentimes, you might have some drier E3 moments where it was like, yeah, some of those announcements might not necessarily vibe with you though, but Nintendo always put their best foot forward. Now, for the longest time, you can go back and look all the way back to, I say, when Reggie made his official debut back in that GameCube era. Like, whenever he came out in that moment and introduced himself, I was like, man, that dude was swinging. Because do y'all remember this moment right here?
My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names. And we're about making games.
Like, that is truly unhinged Nintendo. I really do kind of miss that era. Like, was it the GameCube-ish, Wii U-ish era where they still used to do their whole entire showcases, like live events? That was some wild times right there, for better and for worse, though. I mean, there was a lot of good moments you're able to pull away from moments such as that, though. But you had a lot of different iconic moments, though. Like, I think one thing that always stood out to me in terms of those presentations was like that when we were in the Wii U era, when they were introducing Star Fox Zero. Like, remember when they brought out those Muppets on stage and you had Star Fox over here with Falco and stuff? And I was like, and you have Peppy Hair and all of that stuff. I was like, what the heck? It's those unhinged moments like that I just drew a lot of comic relief from, though. And then you always remember that one scene where they say this right here.
Come on, Reggie, give us Mother 3!
How about this instead?
Yeah, the Mother 3 references, yeah, I guess Reggie was done putting up with that. That dude still gets bothered to this day on his Twitter account. Whenever E3 always happens to pop up, man, the dude can't ever get away from it. He just never can, though. But yeah, it's just moments like those that always manage to put a smile up on my face, though. And obviously, there were some really wild moments as well. Like when you had like the whole entire thing where they're like these women walking around with DSs like strapped to their bodies and way nobody managed to take it away. You had some wild unhinged moments from Nintendo during that era. I mean, ooh, goodness, though. Yeah, a lot of stuff you would never see modern day Nintendo do nowadays, though. But, I think one of the things that really kind of managed to make E3 fall from grace was Nintendo and Iwata's visions for the Nintendo Directs, like giving that information directly to you, which, honestly was like way better than them doing like a live show event where things could get weird, get a little wacky, things don't work properly. Like whenever they were showcasing off like Skyward Sword on the Wii and stuff, and the Bluetooth stuff was acting up. And then I don't know if they said something in the audience like, hey, turn off your Wi-Fi or whatever, or Bluetooth devices or whatever, though. But yeah, you'll have hiccups like that in live events, whereas if you do your own pre-recorded thing and just air it out there to the internet straight to your audience and stuff, you can mitigate a lot of those different weird hiccups and stuff. And Nintendo just ran off with that formula back in the 3DS Wii U era, and since then it's just been a major staple. Like nowadays when you look at Nintendo Directs, we usually always get one around the wintertime-ish time, which is like around February. You get the middle of the year one with the June Direct, roughly around that point. And then you get one to kind of wrap up the year right before the start of the holiday season, roughly the September Direct, though. But yeah, that's just a major staple for Nintendo nowadays, though. And it's their go-to bread and butter. So much so that it literally, introduced a whole slew of different other events and stuff from the competition. Like literally Xbox, I think, stole the term direct off of there, and they'll attach that direct naming off of any of their Xbox showcases and stuff like that, though. You literally had that State of Play, you have Square Enix Presents and stuff, and then you also get like Capcom Presents stuff. Like, you have all these different companies iterating and like, trying to take that branding of the direct and try to do their own spin upon it, though. And I think because of that, that really started to shoot E3 in the foot right there, where it was like, hey, they weren't necessarily evolving or keeping up with the Jones, so to say, though. And I don't know, that's another reason why they fell is because they couldn't adapt to any of their situations and stuff like that though. So, that's one of the reasons why E3 is not necessarily around today though. And now you got Jeff Keighley leading Summer Game Fest and stuff and kind of spearheading, his own shows within that presentation that usually happens, every June or so, though. So putting all of those thoughts aside, though, I would say Nintendo was still swinging down to the very end, even though E3 was kind of in a tizzy at that moment, though, because in the last few years, right before the fall of E3, like one of the things I really enjoyed about E3 was just the fact of how Nintendo always went out with their decoration booths. I know, other companies and stuff did some similar things to kind of showcase all the different games they wanted to market around that time, though. But at least for me personally, always sitting down, and this is one of the moments I love whenever I was like in my late high school years or like, late junior high-ish years or so, is the fact of how I was able to get home. I remember getting the laptop, hooking the HDMI cable up in there and feeding it up into my TV, just sitting back and just watching all of these different showcases and stuff, the wrap-ups and stuff, and what led to be, Nintendo Treehouse Live events where they're actually able to go through, showcase off, these games that they just recently announced and were able to showcase off more footage about the game and had people like demoing out certain parts of the game that really kind of sold me into playing certain games. One of the games that come to mind is like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And then obviously I knew I was going to get Smash Brothers Ultimate though, but it was just nice to see Sakurai sit down with some of the Treehouse members and go through and actually play through that game. That was really nice. Then seeing Metroid Samus Returns, the full-blown remake of Metroid 2, like now that's the definitive way to play that game. I mean, there was a lot of great fun moments with that. And then even with the decorations and stuff with their boots and stuff, like you had one year where it kind of, focused around Hyrule with the lead up to Breath of the Wild. And then if you remember back with E3 of 2017, they went all out with a New Dunk City version and, had New Dunk and, obviously advertising Mario Odyssey. Like they just went all out within any one of their given events though. Now, while they weren't necessarily doing live events, like they would just air it out for the internet, everybody with their directs and stuff, but then they'll immediately flip it over there to the show floor where people were able to go straight to the demo units and stuff. Then you had Treehouse Live members and stuff that would do like little mini interviews and stuff, maybe with people that happen to be on the show floor and stuff. It was just great just being able to sit on your couch and just soak all that information in though. And it kind of really sold you on a lot of games, or might have convinced you to say, okay, maybe this is not necessarily the game for me. However, this game over here, this one looks really cool though. So yeah, those are some of the moments I really miss. Now, granted, yes, Treehouse Live is still a thing. They're probably still likely to do that even within, what will be now their June presentations, starting with this year, moving on forward though. Treehouse ain't really going nowhere. They got a game to really showcase off. They'll still pull that mess out and still, run through all that information and stuff. But, it's just a different time when you're looking back at E3 and just all the different things that they were able to do within all those different events. I don't know. It just had like a sense of a community, camaraderie. I always wanted to go to one of those E3 events at some point, but lo and behold, I never managed to get over there and do it though. So I don't know. Maybe I'll squeeze over to Summer Game Fest, but that ain't looking too hot. I don't know at this point though. But it would have been something cool to actually be around all those different people. I know it probably smelled or something like that. I heard bad things with how people kind of treat their hygiene and stuff at conventions and stuff. But that thought aside though, it just be kind of cool and nice just to be in that atmosphere with all these other people and stuff, all excited about these games and being able to try these demo units out way earlier around when the media will usually test it out though. But I think a lot of people, and especially that were working with media, liked it when they were away from the fans, so that way they can really get hands-on with the stuff though. So another thing that kind of started to fall for E3 though. But all those thoughts aside though, I truly am gonna miss E3 a whole bunch, really. If for nothing else, just for the structure of just having all that gaming goodness cram packed within one said week though. That's what I really miss, because Nintendo, if no one's over there kind of twisting their arm or nothing like that, they're gonna shoot. If they wanted to, they could do their what would be like their E3 presentation in the month of July or something like that, and just miss the whole month of June in general though. And then I don't know, Sony is just kind of all over the place because they were like the first ones to pull out of E3, and then everybody else kind of followed suit once E3 started to crash and stuff. But You know, for that aspect alone, I just love that sense of everybody coming together all across the industry, whether you're working in it, whether you're a fan of it, or you just a casual and stuff, just kind of want to see what happens to be coming next out for like the rest of this year and onward. Though it was just a good sense of community just for everybody to come together and just to see exactly what does the gaming industry has in store for these next upcoming weeks, months, and including maybe even within the next couple of years though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all do you think about E3. Honestly, any given E3 year up until its inevitable conclusion though, because there's a lot of great moments. I mentioned a few of the ones that I personally really like though. For a lot of y'all out there though, I know y'all have your personal fond memories, so share those down in the comment section down below. I would love to see them though. But that's gonna basically do it for today's video though. So if you really like this, make sure you're gonna hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.